What's up, y'all? AC here for another review, and today I'm reviewing Christopher Nolan's latest film, The Tenet. The Tenet is a film that I have been anticipating for quite some time. When I first saw the trailers, it got me really excited for it. You know, like a new Christopher Nolan action film, which is kind of the only films that I really like by him. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a really good director. But when it comes to action, I just think that the technical work he does is amazing. I really enjoy watching his films for that aspect. So going into this film, that was what I was really excited for, especially with the trailer, because it kind of gives you a vague idea of what premise is, or not necessarily the premise, more so the concept of this movie, which is some type of time travel and some type of agency that deals with that. And, you know, that's basically what you got in the film. Now, I will say that when this movie begins, it just begins. You're not introduced to anything. It starts abruptly and boom, you're right into the film. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I would say around the first half of the film, I was pretty confused about what was going on. I can't say I was uninterested, because I was just trying to figure out, like, what the hell is going on in this film. It's not that confusing, but there's not that much of an explanation in the first half. But towards the second half of the film, I will say that you do begin to understand things a lot more, and things do become a lot more clear, especially concerning the concept, which I have to say was a bit confusing. But just like what they showed you in the trailers, yo man, that shit was cool. That shit was nice in the movie. Like, there's all these like kind of rules that go along with it, and once you see how those rules play out in the film, you're like, oh, like, man, that was wild. And that's really it though. Like, other than a really cool concept and this like agency thing, you're really not given much else in the storyline. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think the story's bad, but it's just okay. You know, for me personally, I prefer characters. I like really memorable characters, and not necessarily a movie that's driven by a story, which this is. The whole movie is driven by concept and story, which is fine. But I wish that I was able to like certain characters more, or just enjoy them. I mean, don't get me wrong, they were fine, but I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really care about them. There was no charisma really, and nothing that I thought was all that special about them. I mean, the story was so interesting though that I did find myself engaged on what was going on in the plot. So the movie did a really good job with that. But with the characters themselves, I just wasn't really that into them. Now, for the like technical stuff of the film, the cinematography was really, really good. Like, there's some clear, beautiful shots throughout the film, which works great because there's a lot of scene switches, so this movie doesn't just keep you in one place. You do get to switch around a lot, which is nice because it makes the film feel refreshing, like you're never just in one spot. So I definitely appreciated that. The music was pretty good. The music had like this like heavy bass. You know, y'all could completely disagree with me, I get it, but for some reason some of the music kind of reminded me of some stuff off of Yeezus, or maybe that's just me, I'm not for sure. And now that I'm making music comparisons, if I had to equate what this movie is to any album or mixtape, I would say that this movie is like the Captain Murphy of films. Captain Murphy is a project that was released under the name Captain Murphy, but it was just the character of Flying Lotus. And in that album, the concept was really cool. The production was really dope, like, and all the promotion was fire. Like, everything around it got me really excited. I thought that it was just gonna be this like super dope, high concept, like just weirdo world, which it kind of was, but not really. Like, that album was mainly just production and just Flying Lotus just rapping about whatever. So that's kind of how I felt about this film. You know, like, you were anticipating one thing, but instead you got another, which was a bit disappointing, although the product you got was still very entertaining and something that I definitely think will stick with you. Now, for the acting of the film, it's pretty good. I'm going to be somewhat of a fan of John Washington, and over the years, Robert Pattinson has really grown on me. I actually really liked his character. He was pretty interesting, and he did a really good job of selling the role. I thought that Elizabeth Debicki was okay. there was a bit of an arc with her character that was really enjoyable to see, because her husband, who was played by Kenneth Branagh, was just a straight asshole. I mean, he was an alright villain, but the dude was just a dick. So yeah. Also, I gotta mention Michael Caine. I just love seeing this dude in movies. I mean, he wasn't really even do that much, but it was just, I don't know, I just really like seeing him. But getting back to the Tenet, it's definitely a film I would say you gotta watch twice, and if you're gonna go see it, or definitely go check it out with some friends. I think that it would be a really good movie to watch and then dissect with your friends, because you might pick something up that someone else didn't, and then y'all could like put all the pieces together, because this movie was kind of like a puzzle. I mean, it wasn't that crazy, but there was definitely some aspects of the film that, require some deeper analyzation. Oh, and lastly, I'll mention the action. Now, the action was okay. It wasn't like crazy, but when you mix the action with the concept of the film, then that's when things get really interesting, because there's some cool scenes. Bit of a spoiler, I'm a huge fan of airport scenes in films. I don't know why, but I just love whenever there's like a big thing going on at an airport, and there's like one of those scenes in here, so I'm just a sucker for it. I just thought it was super cool. Same thing with highway scenes. I think highway scenes are dope, and there's a highway scene in this film, and that shit was dope as well. So the like hand-to-hand combat and the the gun firing or whatever was just okay, but it was more so how the concept of the film was applied to the action that really made it special for me. But overall, I would say that The Tenet was a pretty good film. I'd rate it. It's pretty dope. Please subscribe, drop a like, and have a good one.